Hey, in today's video, we are going to take a look at a rare variation of the Slav Defence. So the game was played in 2010, actually in a tournament where I also participated. It's played between the very young Richard Rapport, who was 13 years old at the time, against Danish Boros. So d4, d5, c4, c6, knight f3, and d takes c4. So this is obviously not a main move. Knight to f6 is the main variation here. But basically black with this dc4, as we will see later in the game, wanted to play in a notaboom style. So what is the notaboom? So if black plays e6, starts the game with a triangle, knight c3, and now d takes on c4. Black's idea is to play b5 and even keep this extra pawn. So white plays a4, bishop b4, e3. So thanks to the bishop on b4, now b5 is possible. Because of the knight is pinned, now white stops this pin, bishop d2 and a5. A takes b. So now, of course, it would be great if black would just take the knight on c3 and then recapture on b5, since it looks like he keeps the extra pawn, but unfortunately he's just not in time, because after b3 the queenside is falling apart. If he wants to keep the pawn with b4, simply bishop takes b4, and thanks to the unprotected rook on a8, black's position is pretty much losing at this moment here. So black has to develop, play bishop b7, and after bc4, again, if b takes c4, for example, that's a very sad position for black with those weak pawns. So b4 is the idea, bishop b2, knight f6, bishop d3, castle, knight d7. So we are already at move 14, but this is basically the starting position nowadays of the notaboom variation, a very, very sharp and very interesting system for black, which offers great fighting chances. So black has the strong pawns here on the queen side, and white has, of course, the stronger center, but yeah, this position is really double-edged and very sharp. So this is the style black wanted to play in this game, but as we will see, it's not always possible. So for example, against our repertoire, it's not really advisable to play like this, I would say. So d takes c4, e3, white wants to recapture the pawn right away, b5, a4. So e6 was played here. a6 looks like, a nice stabilizer on the queen side, but actually it's just not helping that much. White simply plays b3, and now the pawn on c4 is hanging. C takes b, a b5, cb, and again just using this unprotected situation of the rook on a8, bishop b5 is taking a pawn. Black can play something like bishop d7, but this position is really, really bad again. Queen takes b3 is coming next, and this pawn is just a weakness. So e6, a takes b5, cb5, b3. This is the standard idea to win back the pawn here, and bishop b4. So this is how black wants to get into this notaboom type of play. Bishop d2 takes, knight d2, and a5. So b takes on c4. Okay, for a second it's worth mentioning that, c3 again looks like that, okay, black is doing great, but we have a check on b5, we should not forget this. So, and then c3 cannot be protected. Of course, if we have to move the knight and this pawn can be stabilized on c3, that's not what we want, but it's not possible. So a5, bc, b4, and we get this notaboom pawn structure basically, but we already can see some huge differences. So one of them is development. So basically, none of the black pieces are developed at this moment. White already developed 2 knights, and it's our move also. It's also very important thing that we managed to get rid of this bishop on b2, which is actually in this particular opening is not so great, because it even can be in the target of these pawns as they come forward, and also the knight has just much better outpost and a much better blockader of passed pawns than a bishop. So it's just an extremely good trade for white. So that's already a big plus. So and also once again it's our move, and we play knight e5. This is again a super unpleasant move for black, because as we saw earlier, what was the first move black wanted to play in the notaboom is to play bishop b7 and occupy the long diagonal, and that bishop is extremely strong there. Unfortunately for black it doesn't work right now, because bishop b7 simply queen a4 check, and there is only one way to block this check, knight d7, but after c5, knight takes d7 is a threat with bishop b5 to follow, c6 is a threat. The position is basically already losing. So such a normal looking developing move is already losing for black. So in the game knight f6 was played, and now another nice bonus for white, that we can play bishop e2. So in the notaboom the bishop is on d3, but now thanks to this thing that black's bishop is simply not able to come to the long diagonal quickly because of this annoying queen a4 check, it means that actually it will be white who occupies this diagonal first, which again gains a few tempi, and white position is just getting more and more active, and black has to make awkward moves, as we will see, in order to even finish development. So black castles, bishop f3, rook a7, and short castle. So basically, like as we can see, still the development advantage is there. Black has issues, so very difficult to bring this b8 knight out, because then there is knight to c6. So he still has to make some moves to prepare the development of the pieces. So I played queen c7 and queen a4. So Rapport is already blockading those passed pawns on the queen side, and again, this queen is not so easy to get rid of. An idea like knight b3 can follow up, then the a5 pawn is weak. He can bring the rook next into the game, for example. So really those pawns are not going anywhere at this moment. So black played bishop d7, very logical, somehow wants to bring out that knight. Again, if just wants a simple trade like knight d7 and knight c6. So tempo on the rook and attacking the pawn here, and many times also knight b4 if the rook is going to an unprotected square. So bishop d7, knight takes on d7, knight d7, and rook f2 c1. Very nice move. The next two moves are really already showing the great talent of Rapport, that he's not rushing the game. So we have the majority in the center, so it would be logical to push it right away, but actually none of those moves are correct. So first he strengthens the position, and then just basically highlights that black has no active ideas in this position. Our blockade on the a4 and b3 squares are so perfect that basically those pawns are not going anywhere, so we have the time to improve. So for example, c5 looks like a natural move, but it allows knight d5, and it's completely unnecessary to give such squares for the knight. And if we have to trade on d5, then it's not, those are not connected pawns anymore, and black is very happy to trade basically that knight, which cannot move at this position. So yeah, it's not good. And even more instructive is that, okay, if white says, okay, let's push in the center right away with e4, it's a huge positional mistake, and it's extremely impressive actually, or instructive, that after the correct move from black, which is e5, So shutting down this bishop and blockading on the dark squares, it is already a winning position for black. So it's not even from better position from white. It's not like equal or slightly better. It's like completely winning for black at this moment, because let's say d5, knight c5, and now with the help of this knight, the pawns are running. So it would be a huge mistake. So instead, rook fc1 is just a great move, bringing the rook into the play. Black also does the same, rook c8. And once again, a really nice move from white, g3. So not rushing anywhere, but just perfectly understanding that black has no play whatsoever. So we can open the back rank. Sometimes in the future, if the knight would come to e5, we can safely retreat with the bishop to g2, for example. And it is just a very nice improving move and saying black, okay, it's your turn. Let's see what you want. For example, if white would have rushed the game with knight b3, then there is knight b6, queen b5, and a4. So this is exactly what we want to avoid, to let those pawns to run down the board. So knight d2, b3, and this is again a complete mess here. So black has very decent chances. So instead, Rapport played g3, and I believe what black should have done is the same. So basically admitting that he cannot really do much, and play something like g6. So at least also opening the back rank, and here there are many promising continuations with white. My suggestion would be probably just to play queen b3, which actually has two ideas at this moment. So one of them is to bring the rook towards a2 and put more pressure on the a pawn, and the other one is to prepare c5. Since the queen is now controlling the d5 square, so the knight will be not able to jump to d5, which means that after c5, knight c4, and our knight can also attack a5 or jump to d6. So really many promising ideas for white. So of course I understand why black was not such a big fan of this thing. He instead went e5, but it's actually just it will lead to an even more quicker loss. So now Rapport plays c5. There is no reason not to play, so we should not forget that the reason he did not play it before was not to allow the knight to d5, but now it's not protected anymore. So ed, and basically here, let's say after knight f8, d5, the difference between the queenside passers and the central passers are in full display. I mean, these pawns are not blockaded at all. They are just controlling a lot of squares, and these pawns are doing nothing basically. So it's already decisive advantage for white at this moment. Black played queen e5, knight c4. Knight is also coming with a tempo. Queen f5, attacking the bishop, but simply king g2 was played, since the pawn is untouchable on d5. Knight d6 is forking the queen and the rook. So knight e4 was played, and then queen c2. And basically using this pin is already decisive. Black tried knight g3. I mean, every move is winning here, or like most of them, but it's still very nice what white did. So of course, if you simply take this knight, queen c2, I mean, this is a winning position, but black is still playing on a little bit with those pawns. But he just played knight d6, and now everything is hanging. So black is not getting any counterplay. Rook is hanging on c8. Okay, if he would trade on c2 after rook c2, he's losing a full knight or a full rook while the pawns are staying on the board. So after knight d6, black resigned the game. Very convincing and crushing win from white, who showed what we should do in this position. So just first blockade. The pawns improve the position a little bit, knowing that our pawns cannot be blockaded in such a way. And since it is a little bit shorter video, I also brought you an extra exercise. So this game was played today, Angelica, who is the real author of the 1d4 chessable course, played this game actually with the black pieces, and her opponent played knight takes on g4 in this position, using the fact that if the queen takes on g4, then this bishop is unprotected on c7. So basically, the exercise starts from this moment. So black to play and win. So I am curious if you can find this solution. You can just write your ideas in the comment section, and also in the comment section you can write what other topics you would like to see in the videos. If you have something in particular which you are interested in. Today I already got some ideas. Thank you for that. So just feel free to write if there is something you are interested in particular. One video weekly I would like to spend for such topics. All right, so thanks a lot for watching, and hope you liked the video, and see you very soon.